The US Navy is training its warships to be able to defend against attacks by enemy drones. In particular, the Navy leadership is monitoring how drones are affecting the war in Ukraine and studying how unmanned systems can be integrated into the traditional fleet for future operations, Business Insider writes. It is noted that unmanned boats are a dangerous and innovative weapon that Ukraine has used to deal a serious blow to the Russian fleet in the Black Sea. These asymmetric capabilities could be used against us. Rear Admiral Michael Mattis, commander of Task Force 66, told Business Insider. BI stressed that asymmetric warfare means the massive use of cheap weapons against expensive enemy targets. The publication recalled that last month the US Navy took part in a number of exercises aimed at preparing warship crews for threats they may face in future wars. During such exercises, they simulated UAV attacks on US warships. At the start of Russia's full-scale invasion in February 2022, the Ukrainians lacked a navy large enough to project sea power. So Kiev relied on asymmetric warfare and a campaign of missile strikes and attacks by domestically produced naval drones to wreak havoc on Moscow's Black Sea Fleet, BI said. Ukraine's operations have damaged and destroyed dozens of warships, forcing Russia to move much of its fleet from its headquarters on the occupied Crimean Peninsula to the port of Novorossiysk in the eastern Black Sea. Mattis emphasized that during the full-scale Russian invasion, Ukraine defeated about 40% of Russian naval forces in the Black Sea. Ukraine has achieved incredible success in achieving strategic effects in the Black Sea and, in essence, is using its asymmetry against the Russians, he noted. So the US watched this asymmetrical warfare cycle unfold in the Black Sea and realized it needed to be boiled down to its simplest form, a red versus blue training scenario. We want to put our ships in a defensive zone where they have to think and respond to that problem set. We know that this is an evolving capability. We know that the Russians have been slow to adapt defensive measures against it, and as a result they have lost more ships than they probably would have had they been able to adapt more quickly, Mattis said. At the same time, the Rear Admiral acknowledged that one of the challenges posed by the changing nature of war is understanding how to do it when you are not facing an existential threat. When somebody puts a gun in your face, like Russia did with Ukraine, and you're forced to innovate to survive, when it's absolutely innovate or die. The ability to solve problems and the ability to remove barriers and remove excuses is incredible, he said.
A fleet of the Chinese People's Liberation Army Navy led by the aircraft carrier Shandong arrived in the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region on Thursday morning, kicking off a 5-day visit. According to Associated Press, at around 8 a.m., the fleet comprising the Shandong and 3 other vessels entered the Victoria Harbour. More than 700 officers and soldiers spelled out Chinese characters, "Secure Country, Sweet Home," on the Shandong's flight deck. At around 10 a.m., XAR Chief Executive John Lee welcomed the Shandong aircraft carrier formation at a ceremony held at the Stonecutters Island Naval Base. This is the Shandong's first visit to Hong Kong. From Friday to Sunday, the Shandong, the Zhangjiang and the Yunqing will host open tours, lectures, drill demonstrations and other exchange activities.
确实是很激动，昨天晚上确实也不太睡得着。然后当时刚刚在 坐车来的途中，然后自己内心也是感觉到自己一直疯疯直跳，包括在那边等待，就是以及看着就是两艘就是舰艇就是开过来的时候，就是其实我觉得我是有点就是发抖的那种。
这次机会我又可以去内部的参观这中国的这些舰艇，所以我认为这是一次非常珍貴嘅機會，然後可以去讓我們去深度研究一下這些中國嘅海防力量。我哋好多時可能係書本上嘅知識，可能會係即係話到俾我哋聽，可能國家同我哋嘅關係。咁但係我覺得國民教育可能係需要一個感性或者感情上嘅紐帶。咁其實今次山東艦隊過嚟香港，其實正正就係俾市民或者俾學生去感受到就係話國家嘅所謂強大係點樣強大法啦，然後對香港嘅關愛係點樣咧？因為始終呢個係國家重器，咁都可以係即係嚟到香港俾我哋去即係去感受。
The future of modern warfare is being built in Ukraine at this moment. New equipment is being developed and deployed in Ukraine at a significantly lower cost and in a remarkably shorter time compared to almost anywhere else in the world, Bloomberg reports. Currently, Ukraine depends on US intelligence and allied air defense systems to intercept Russian missiles. However, Kyiv is increasingly producing its own weapons. According to President Volodymyr Zelenski, today Kyiv receives about 40% of its weapons from Ukrainian sources. Ground drones and unmanned aerial vehicles, which have been used on a large scale for the first time in the war with Russia, have sparked a revolution on the battlefield. Russian forces under Russian President Vladimir Putin's command have deployed nearly 695,000 soldiers along the front and continue to bombard civilian populations with missiles and drones. The main weapon against the invaders has become the adaptability of Ukraine's defense industry. A striking example is the modular robotic platform Termit, which serves both for transportation and clearing pathways. It is equipped with Starlink satellite internet and is already in use by more than 20 military units. TenCore, a company that started in February 2024 with 5 employees, now has 175 workers and projects $80 million in revenue for 2025 due to producing over 2,000 units of equipment. Investors sought to buy the company, but TenCore refused. Also, over 70% of Russian equipment has been destroyed by Ukrainian drones, making the country one of the most powerful drone armies in the world. Russia, in response, is ramping up drone production and using technologies that make them harder to jam, while Moscow scales up production. Ukraine bets on innovation and creativity, and this could change the course of the war. Whichever model prevails will decide the outcome of the war. The biggest obstacle for Ukraine's defense industry is funding. Despite a defense budget of $12 billion, Ukraine's production potential is 3 times greater than it is today. Kyiv seeks to attract more investment from its Western allies, including from the European new project, SAFE, which envisions $150 billion for defense tech funding.